And welcome back to the Challenger FACEIT Invitational. We are now in the grand finals. I am Richard Polscam. I'm joined by James Stress O'Leary, and you may be wondering why I'm going so quickly, but we're already in Champion Select picks and bans, and most of the bans have already happened. In fact, all of them have, just as I was saying that.
All of them have. We've had the LeBlanc ban come out from SK Prime, and we saw in the previous game, Nuke Duck just amazingly good LeBlanc in that game. Vi has been the first pickup here for SK Prime. A fast lock-in already of Jinx and Thresh, and we're already well on our way here to game number 2 in our finals.
And this could be the last game of today, guys. So with the first game going to one of these players, I believe we have a couple issues with Champions.
Yeah, we're just changing over the names of the teams to make sure it's all okay on your overlay. We are still in picks and bans.
Because so NIP are not SK.
It's okay, but luckily here, there were no picks put in
at the same time
while we were back on the screen.
But Thresh and Jinx are going to be taken out. And the first pick actually was Vi. It's a little bit interesting. Don't always see the Vi first pick because it was always their Lee's, which has been banned out. So
well, I feel like SK Prime have had a good set of games on Vi with Perry yesterday. I believe we saw quite a few games with that pickup on them. And it went quite a way undoing Triple Lol's team composition that they ended up having such good engages. And now they're going to look to follow this up with an Annie lane. We saw in the previous game Annie Caitlyn working out for... it was for NIP, had Annie Caitlyn.
Yeah.
And now it's completely reversed. It's Thresh Jinx.
A complete reversal, which is... pretty interesting. We'll see if they can just run the same composition that their opponents were using and just be like, well, it's your composition that won you the game, not your actual skill. And we'll show exactly how it's done. But Gragas is being hovered over again. It's actually just been locked in. It's just a very consistent pick. I mean, there's very few mid laners who will just say, I'm going to win this lane. Zed might be one of them who can make Gragas struggle. But again, if you pick something into that before it's entirely up, Gragas will just go in the jungle, no problem.
Well, we saw Exile playing Zed yesterday against Triple Lol, and he scaled so well. Also against Unicorns of Love in the previous series in the day, and he was pretty difficult to deal with in that series. So we'll see whether the Zed comes out again. Mundo has been locked in for Ninjas in Pyjamas. What will SK Prime answer with?
Usually we've seen the Mundo in response to a Renekton, but because there has been no top laner at the moment from SK, we'll see exactly what they pick into that. However, this will be the perfect opportunity is what I was stumbling over my word, but Trundle could be a thing. Because this is the first time we've seen the top laner first be picked, Mundo, and then the follow-up could be something else, because usually it's been like Renekton, or we've seen something else, and then Mundo's been picked into it.
Yeah, it could be a Trundle pickup here. I think that would be an adequate pick. I think Renekton has fared equally well. I don't think Renekton has struggled so much that, in fact, Renekton's been ahead in quite a few games. The Zed has been hovered over here, still looking for that top laner as well.
Giving a lot of thought.
They are. And it is an important game for them here. They are one game away from staying in. They're also one game away from losing. So a win here would keep SK in the running for first place. However, Renekton has been locked in, as has Zed.
They thought about the Shyvana, but they were like, well, the Renekton has been working out for us. Why not just throw that down again? Last pickup, the hover over Lee Sin. Lee Sin is always nice to see in Challenger games. There's usually someone on that team who can play Lee Sin to a very high level.
We've seen it out of Armin before. It's his play style of champion. It's a very aggressive champion that has a lot of mechanical skill to it to be able to maximize the efficiency of the champion. So that does get locked in here. And SK running a heavy AD composition. Of course, Annie will provide the AP damage as well, but we've seen this happen yesterday against Ocelot's Triple Lol team. The difference between that game and this game is the top lane here is a Mundo, which is considerably more difficult to kill.
And the other difference is we had 2 games in a row where it was Zed versus Gragas. Yeah. And this is the second game where we didn't have that the first game. And we saw Ocelot adapt by going for the Zhonya's Dalgards first. They still ended up losing, but it was a good adaptation. And we'll see if, their mid lane has actually learned from Ocelot's mistakes and will go for the Zhonya's first or go for more damage.
The difference I feel between this game as well is that the champions on the side of Ninjas in Pyjamas will somewhat passively want to have armor anyway. Lee Sin likes to build Randuin's after picking up that Sightstone, so it's that kind of 2.5 item build where you have Ancient Golem, Randuin's Sightstone, and that is Lee Sin's core build. Same with Mundo. Mundo will like to build a Sunfire Cape first, potentially into a Randuin's or a Spirit Visage to maximize healing on himself. Whereas yesterday, SK's opponents in Triple LOL, every time I go to say SK Ocelot, it throws me for a loop.
You just expect it.
It's been SK Ocelot for so long and has been for a while that he hasn't. But every time Triple LOL went for a champion pick, there was no armor in their builds. So Zed was able to just tear through them. And by the time they were starting to build armor, it was far too late.
Right. So we'll see if he just build up that early game momentum. And I'm sure Nuke Duck is definitely one of those guys that can. But this is one of the first times we've had like a Gragas lock-in and then like the Zed in response. And then for them actually to carry on with the Gragas pick instead of just throwing it in top lane or jungle. So let's take a look at one of the other lanes. Well, we've spoken so much about Renekton and Mundo this tournament. I think everyone gets the idea. But in the bot lane, it's going to be Jinx and Fresh facing down, well, I actually saw this last game, so we know exactly what's going to happen. But Caitlyn and Annie, and they'll have that early zoning, and it's fairly difficult for them to get in range to do anything. But we did see some fantastic hooks from that team of Ninjas in Pyjamas, which actually threw them off.
Well, it was
from the opposing team.
SK had Thresh.
In Pyjamas.
The difference was there was a big CS gap between the Caitlyn and the Jinx, and we'll see whether that gets replicated again from the early pushing of Caitlyn Annie. But certainly this game is all up in the air. As we are getting ready to go into game number 2 here for our grand finals. It's a best of 3 between Ninjas in Pyjamas and SK Gaming Prime. Now we are here in the FACEIT studios in Milan, Italy, with our sponsors Overwolf and DL Compare. If you're on the Twitch page, which of course you would be if you're watching, unless you're watching on VODs, in which case, hello.
Hello from the
hello from the past. Make sure you get all of the VODs on YouTube. You know, subscribe to the FACEIT YouTube channel as well. I'm sure you're already there. You're already subscribed. Why wouldn't you be? Make sure you follow the Twitch channel as well. And there's a link on there from our partners with DL Compare. Follow that link. Fill out the small form. It'll only take about 30 seconds, and I'll be giving away some brand new games this weekend.
Yeah, it's a very quick question there, and there's some new games, as you mentioned. I think there's a couple different titles in there, but also we're on the FACEIT platform. Well, we're not currently, but you can be with the promotional code that we're going to be throwing out on stream just in a couple of seconds. And if you make a FACEIT account and then add that code, you'll have a premium account for a month and use all the features on FACEIT.
So if you are the king or queen of bronze or the prince of platinum, then you too could end up getting some pretty cool prizes from FACEIT, as everything from keyboards, headsets, all the way up to a car.
Yeah.
Yeah, a car. That's you heard me right.
Yeah,
I'm not
actually
crazy.
a car. And with that premium account, you'll be able to purchase that for only the cheap price of 5 million FACEIT points.
Yeah, that's practically
But if you are the best bronze player in the world, that's something that you can achieve.
Yeah, or even, if you're a challenger player as well. I don't know how many there could be a lot of challenger players wanting to play 1v1 ARAMs at that level. So we'll see. Well, it depends however many opponents you can find. Just keep on playing on FACEIT, and you too could get a car for playing video games.
Absolutely. But we are going to jump into the second game of this best of 3. And it could be. It's been a very quick weekend.
I hope not. I hope it's not the last game.
I want to go into a third game.
As casters, we always pray for more games.
And we are now onto the Rift with SK Gaming Prime and their opposing team of Ninjas in Pyjamas.
Let's get to it. Here we go. So, door and shields all around as to be expected. Pretty standard out to begin this game.
Yeah, so everyone's just going to head towards their jungles, and we'll see if there's any early aggression. We always say that, and then nothing happens, but let's see if something happens this game. I mean, it's definitely not worth it to go for an early invade, because you're expending those early wards, and if you're not going for like a gold item or anything, it just becomes massively inefficient, and you need those wards for your own benefit.
Yeah, it's just a little dangerous to go for level 1s. We've seen it a couple of times. Sometimes it's worked out. MYM went aggressive at level 1 and took a lot of poke out from Inferno Esports yesterday, and actually saw it backfire as they were trying to be aggressive. So the line of scrimmage has been formed. And it looks like both teams are just going to start this out defensively. Both teams realize how important a game this is because NIP being 1 game away from first place, SK being 1 game away from being out of the tournament.
But these guys have secured money.
Yes.
Cash prizes regardless. That's going to be 1,000 heading to the winner of this tournament, the FACEIT Challenger Invitational, and then 500 euros to the second place. I'm going to say loser. Because they haven't lost. They've come to the finals and beat some incredible teams on the way here.
It's not quite the car that you can get from playing on FACEIT.
It's not. It's not the grand prize.
I mean, these
Definitely
guys, they've still got to play on the platform to get the car.
They do. And we'll see exactly how they do in this tournament very shortly, but not quite right now because no one's actually attacking each other.
Yep, they're just waiting to attack some neutral monsters, which will appear and then quite brutally get taken off the map.
They're neutral minions as well. It's not like they've taken sides.
Yeah.
You know? But they have money and they want their lunch money, so Ammon's just going to take that from Red Buff.
Bullies. There are
Yeah.
a lot of them.
Absolutely. In the school of League of Legends, they're the nerds.
Speaking of school, shouldn't Annie be in school? Instead, she's in a lane
Murdering people.
against a criminal throwing a teddy bear at her.
That's true, but killing people is also criminal. And she's playing with a police officer, so it's probably okay.
True. Does that count as, a guardian?
Yeah, true story. If you're killing people with a police officer and
I
you're a
don't
small
think
girl,
that's true. That sounds like some kind of cop drama that
It
could be made
does.
from this.
that'd be pretty good. Yeah. Anyway, what have we even done? We've come up with
Sorry,
skin
man.
ideas and chances for Rune Terror police force police dramas. I'd watch it.
I think I'd watch it as well, but sometimes during the early game, we get sidetracked a little bit. However, some players that aren't sidetracked are the ones in this game, because
They're concentrating.
they're concentrating pretty hard here. You can see the push in already down in the bottom lane from Six and Vanilla, and this is pretty much identical to how the Annie-Caitlyn duo worked in the previous game. They're just going to shove in as much as possible, try and deny as much CS to Jinx as possible, and then get a lead. Now, in this middle lane, we've seen the Zed-Gragas matchup go a couple of different ways this weekend, and it just seems to be down to how consistent NukeDuck is going to be able to farm and keep himself alive against Exile after Exile hits level 6.
And we want to see how many barrels he lands in the early game, because if he out-trades Exile to the point where he doesn't land enough damage onto NukeDuck before he can assassinate him, then he just wins the lane. Exile cannot dodge every single barrel, but if they just naturally miss, then, well, he'll be ahead.
Yeah, that typically is, and there's the barrel landing. He's got to be careful he doesn't eat too many of those.
Still has a health potion in his inventory, but doesn't want to be chugging through that too soon. Six did use the flash defensively in bot lane. I didn't quite catch the scenario. I just caught the tail end of it. But that's going to be Perry just hanging around, and the war came down, so he's going to walk out again.
Yeah, that flash not being available, while will be important for escaping any kind of engages or landing a flash incinerate, without Tibbers being available until level 6, it's not quite the key engagement they need. It's more of a defensive laning spell right now.
So top lane, again, is going to be Mozilla with the small CS advantage, which is very common of top lane matches between Renekton and Mundo. And we'll see exactly how 0-0 catches up in the next couple of minutes and the rest of the game. But it's going to be Armin heading into the top lane with that Lee Sin. Only has the blue buff. And will slow him down with the Tempest, the cripple. And 0-0 just allows himself to, just go straight through him with Slice and Dice. And Six will just want some damage. Flame Chompers do not arm in time.
Now, interestingly enough, even though they've been shoving in, Freeze has done a good job of keeping up in farm with Caitlyn. And that's some really nice mind games there by Mithy, throwing the Lantern back just to make sure not only is the enemy jungler not there, but it also keeps Vanilla and Six on their toes. They knew Lee Sin had been in the top lane a little while previously, but the question is, would he have had enough time to recall and get to that bush?
Yeah.
Anytime you can kind of fake your opponents out is a good way of using that Lantern.
And Miffy will land the hook as well. Death Sentence comes through. The Flame Chompers come out, and that forces the flash from Zavan. And Mozilla takes another tower shot. They wanted to go for that tower dive, but 0-0 always picks up a kill in return.
2v1 seems so risky on the top side of the map right now. We saw yesterday MYM try and 2v1 a Trundle as Exile takes more damage. And it just seems that unless you know that you can kill them 100%, it almost isn't worth going in 2 versus 1 in the top lane.
and it's killing them almost instantly.
Yeah.
Because as long as if you stay under there for a couple seconds, it's very easy just to ring around the rosies and keep walking around the turret, and then you end up in a much better position, especially against someone like Mundo, who's super, super tanky. Even at this stage in the game, you have to instantly burst him down.
And the thing is, he's now hit level 6, has sadism available, so he's been able to stay in that lane and shove it into the turret. So while Renekton will get there for the majority of that CS, he is going to lose some to that turret, and teleport is available, but here's the fight.
The flash into the flay, the dark passage brings Ammon into this fight, but the counter gank from Vi, this is going to go back in again. 6 has been pulled back into that Jinx, but not going to be able to pick up that kill, and that counter gank did save some summoners. Ammon postures aggressively, but kind of wanders back out again.
NIP are looking for any pick they can in this bottom lane, because that would open up a dragon attempt for them. They know Zoro still has teleport available because he chose not to use it to get back into lane to catch up in any farm, knowing at this point in the game it's crucial for him to be able to participate in any dragon attempts.
Nukeduck using his ultimate to clear out the minion waves and clear out the Z before he goes back himself, so not looking to go for that just yet. But Vi is also recalled, so no one going for the dragon as of this minute. But we don't really see the dragon fall before 10 minutes. That seems to be the trend.
Yeah, it requires a good pick in the bottom lane, and for the jungler to be around, and just for the stars to align to be able to do dragon this early. There are a couple of champions that can attempt it that early. We saw Elise around 10 minutes soloing dragon, so it's not out of the realms of possibility, as can Kha'Zix from the jungle, but right now, not really an option for any of these teams, and lanes are trading out fairly evenly here.
And Mundo has, differently to another couple of games, has already evened out the lane CS.
Yeah.
Hasn't been taken down, though. From previous games, we have usually seen a kill onto 0-0, but that initial gank did fail. So that might be all that 0-0 needed to quell in terms of the storm of ganks heading his way.
Yeah, it was that failed gank that has allowed Zoro to even the matchup. Because of the way he shoved into the turret, it meant Mozilla just didn't maximize his CS in the lane, and that small difference has been caught up. And Zoro now with a Giant's Belt is far better equipped with sadism available to start trading against Mozilla.
Nukeduck just getting that blue buff donated towards him, and Vi picking up that red buff, so we might start seeing those ganks from the junglers once again with that second wave of buffs. Now with that red buff, they should be able to slow down their opponents, have some extra form of CC and damage.
And very similar to most of the NIP games, apart from actually the previous one in this grand finals, was there haven't been a lot of early kills, and NIP just seem to like to take things slowly, make sure that they have control of the game, and then close it out. We saw that against MYM earlier today, and MYM kind of struggled as soon as they were behind to know what to do against a very consistent NIP.
NIP either do two things. They go hyper-aggressive with like a reset composition, or they go really, really slow with a more slow game. And Miffy goes in for the initiate, and there's the knockback on Civilian. There's the counter gank once again by Vi. Assault and battery used onto Freeze will be pulled backwards into the fight. Freeze flashes out into the Super Mega Death Rocket. First Blood picked up by Ammon, and Perry gets himself back to turret with Vault Breaker, but First Blood comes down.
Yeah, nice First Blood there out by NIP. They managed to kick Vanillan all the way back into the wall, got that added disruption, and finished off the kill there. 1-for-0 trade.
Leeson picks that one up, and he's going to be fairly happy to accelerate his build, just stay ahead of Vi in that jungle. Freeze clearing out the minion wave, and I'm not sure if they're going to completely push them away from the turret. Civilian is coming back from base, but he might land some damage from Freeze.
Now, let's take a look at this mid lane matchup, because that's where a lot of the action will end up being as we head through into the mid game. And again, it's a very even match. It looks like Nukeduck has been able to land as much damage on Exile as he's needed to stay in this matchup. And Exile just hasn't found the position yet to all-in Nukeduck. Of course, the Explosive Cask is available to separate Zed away from Gragas when he does use his Death Mark. But it just means that Nukeduck has never been in a position to be engaged on.
Nukeduck has also opted for the Seeker's Arm Guard, which is something that Ocelot did in the second game, but not the first one. Went for a more damage-orientated build, but that's going to be Brutalizer first by Exilo, which is going to increase his damage in the early game. There's a Grax Battle, knocks him towards turret. Living Shadow comes through. Let's see how much Nukeduck can follow up. He's just going to take a break.
Yeah, so Exile's going to have to back off from that one. It does mean, however, that NukeDuck doesn't have Explosive Cask available, and here comes Vi into the middle lane. Amin has found the bomb.
Gank from the bot. Freeze lands the zap, but Amin is actually getting chunked very quickly. Tibbers came down. Super Mega Death Rocket picks a kill. In return, a huge death sentence from Miffy lands. The flash into the play will secure this kill for Freeze.
Yeah, and Vi isn't there in time. Perry was looking for the gank mid earlier. Ends up getting nothing from that in a 2-for-1 trade overall. Means that SK's bottom lane is not working out the way that they expected it to after fearing the wrath of Caitlyn and Annie on the previous game.
And perseverance was what Amin did to the bot lane, continuously going there. Perry was not always in place to counter gank, and that was the only thing really keeping them alive in the previous engages.
Now, up in this top lane, we can see Zoro and Mozilla continually trading, as you would expect from a Mundo and Renekton lane. Very standard.
Unless there's a jungler coming in to try and upset the balance, they'll just keep on going at it. And level 9 means he'll use sadism when he drops a little too low, and that Mozilla will just continue to farm up.
Yeah, Mozilla has a window here where sadism isn't available, but it'll come up so quickly that he can't deal enough damage. If he were lower, his Exile goes aggressive and gets a body slam from Nuke.
Actually dukes out the way of the explosive cask, but it just means he's using his ultimate in return.
Yeah, ultimate's traded in the middle lane, which means middle lane will default back to neither one of them going all in. Zoro had sadism available.
Mozilla went for the tower dive and going to take 2 tower shots on top of that cleaver. Lee Sin heading around the side, and they might re-engage for this one. Mozilla has pushed up extremely far. Can he get in range in time? Well, the answer to that question is going to be no.
No, not able to get in range. In bottom lane, they were looking for the hook there, but couldn't quite land it. And SK need to find something here to get their footing in this game. They're doing a good job keeping up in most of the lanes, but that bottom lane has started to slip away from them. The kills that they have all taken place down in the bottom lane, and perhaps a top lane gank here from Perry may do it. Zoro, no sadism available, and he is pretty low.
He's going to meet Amin. I actually don't think those junglers saw each other. Well, was actually Vi off to the side. I believe he was in that bush just near that area. And now Zoro is still in pretty good shape. Both of these guys have to use their ultimates. Perry heads on up, and Mozilla tries to meet him. Now both of the mid laners are actually headed up there. Xler follows through, and now they've gone for the fight. He can't quite get in there. There's the flash over the wall into the Shadow Slash. Amin plans the Q. He does go full Lee Syndrome. Doesn't really have the kill, especially with Vi being there, but Mozilla's being chased down. There's the barrel from NukeDuck, picks up one. Perry goes into the wrong place. Has found himself Corporate Mundo filing as hard as he can. The flash over the wall and the follow-up. There's another file. And that has been decided.
The assist goes over to the blue buff as well, as the golem landed one big hit there onto Vi. So a good passage of play out from NIP. They extend their kill lead up to 5 kills to 1. And they're looking pretty good here in game number 2.
As the Tibbers coming down onto Freeze. Backing on off, and Tibbers will actually be flayed back into them for the 50 gold.
Now, Zhonya's Hourglass finished on Gragas, and each member of NIP has a kill. Exile looks for one for himself.
Death Mark comes down, and that's enough to eliminate Amin.
And that is a useful pickup, but down in the bottom, Hook lands.
Hook lands onto the Villian. There's the Super Mega Death Rocket, picked up that kill. 6 comes through. Now, the box coming, that actually gets popped by 6, but they don't go any further than that.
Yeah, the turret's still available there. It's about on a third of the health. Ooh, ultimate gets juked out.
By Xler. Didn't even need the death rock for that one, and NukeDuck's ultimate will be down for quite a while.
Yeah, so they decided not to follow up with a kill onto Annie because the turret was low health. There's no need to dive that when they can just as easily take down the turret, get the global gold rather than the gold for the kill and the assist, and then look towards rotating towards the middle or the top lane.
Current score is 6-2. NukeDuck pushing Xler out of lane. About 3k advantage. In pretty good shape. Now Renekton's coming in from the backside. NukeDuck is not in good shape. He lands another barrel roll, and that puts Exile into the danger zone. Perry comes in, and Amin whiffs the Sonic Wave, and this is the initiate. Zhonya's comes down, and the re-engage. The teleport from Mundo actually gets cancelled.
Ooh.
The hook lands on the Mozilla, and his escape route has been cut up by those flame jumpers. Picks up one. NukeDuck is actually the one to claim that kill.
And now NIP will rotate. They'll keep Gragas in the middle lane. They'll take the Dragon as well. So keeping SK Prime, occupied across the map, because Dragon is one objective they'll take. They will start to rotate around towards that middle lane tower as it is fairly low, but it's just a case of who to SK put in which positions.
That is the question those guys are asking themselves. NIP are now significantly ahead and well on their way to securing this second game. Let's take a look at some of the item builds. So Zhonya's Hourglass was picked up by Gragas, as what we said before. Something that is very good against that Zed, but actually not the biggest of concerns right now. And then in terms of item builds in the bot lane, the Bloodthirster has been picked up by Freeze, which is again a very common item. Sometimes you'll see the static shift following that item, or even sometimes just go for the last whisper on top of that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a difference that we've seen out of some of our AD carries this weekend. Some opting for that extra attack speed, others opting for the last whisper when they have needed to chunk through quite significantly tanky members of the opposition. But 7 kills to 2 here, and NIP are looking in good form. They are 1 game up here in the grand finals of the FACEIT Challenger Invitational, sponsored by Overwolf and DL Compare. We are midway through game number 2.
Exile was pushed out of that mid lane, and we'll see if they can capitalize on that. Doesn't seem like that's going to be the case, but Mozilla is being pushed up by 0-0, very reminiscent of last game. Tiamat just trying to be used to farm underneath that turret, and everyone goes back to laning. So again, NIP are in the situation they were in the last game, where they couldn't quite go any further than those inner turrets, and just ended up taking all of those neutral minions. I was just trying their best to secure the game in terms of smaller objectives, but they'll probably get to that stage where they can start sieging.
Yeah, NIP are at a point where all of their lanes are ahead, so they're at a comfortable place to be in this game, and it's just difficult for SK to really find their footing without NIP making a mistake at an objective. If NIP go too aggressive, SK can capitalize on it, but it's just one of these times in the game where SK have to kind of hope that NIP do something aggressive.
Mozilla was just popping his ultimate and then realized that Zorozo was just going to walk out of there. So his ultimate is going to be down while sadism is still going to be available. So it doesn't mean Mundo can kill him because it doesn't result in extra damage. It just means he has more HP. It just means that for the meanwhile, Mundo is quite happy to carry on farming.
NIP are grouping on the lower side of the map. They're fine to give away top turret if they can get some inner turrets in mid or bottom, and that is what they're looking for.
Tibbers comes down and stuns up Freeze and stuns up that minion, but Amin comes off to the side, pins 6 against the wall, and so will that explosive cast. Super Mega Death Rocket lands into that deadly combination, picks up 1 kill. Amin lands the Q and also places down the ward on top of himself.
Yeah, just wants to make sure he's got vision of everything around him.
Yeah, absolutely. He is blind after all.
Yep. Wards are going to help with that. But hook lands.
It lands onto Perry. They will be flayed backwards. Flame Chompers also comes through. Grags is off to the side, performing the role of a very fat Nedley. And now the bot tower is going to fall. They look for this collapse. Mozilla is only one on the backside. The flash is going to come out of it. The flash forwards from Nuke as well, straight into his Zhonya's. 0-0 spamming out that taunt. Exler, that's not the Duke you really want to be making. Amin looks for the Q, misses on both of those targets, but the briefcase will land.
Yeah, and NIP are in full control here, accelerating this game through, looking perhaps for another turret, but they don't have the minions to be able to really start sieging an inhibitor turret right now. They may head for the middle turret as Vi is out there defending, but again, minion wave's not quite in place. Perry may be looking for an engage.
Yeah, well, Perry moves on to 0-0, but he is just a wall of HP. I believe Ammon just randomly flashed there. I'm not sure what he was looking for. Might have been a misclick.
May have been a misclick, indeed.
It just happened. He is human, after all.
Yes, he is. However, SK Gaming are more than one human. There are 5 here in this game, I hope. Otherwise, someone's created a League of Legends playing robot.
I don't know who it is because they're playing very well. Exeler jukes out of the box, and the box came down. Oh, 0-0 off to the side. Didn't even notice.
Yet 0-0 is going to cut in on this team fight through the side. Mozilla gets hooked in.
Death Sentence lands onto Mozilla. There's the Super Mega Death Rocket plus the explosive cask. Zap comes through. Mozilla's dropped incredibly low. Body slam into the barrel roll. The next Death Sentence doesn't quite find its mark. Nuke Duck almost taking down Exeler with that Morellonomicon cutting that extra health regen.
And that was 4v5 by NIP. Armin still wasn't around. And NIP just pretty much took the fight to SK Prime. 4 men against 5. They're now going to take that inner turret. and then look perhaps to rotate out towards a Baron, or maybe even just secure more turrets and maybe even back off.
Yeah, the real test is can they get through that inhibitor line, but it feels like a 50-minute game. We're only 20 minutes into this one, and they're being pushed up to their inhibitors. SK Gaming Prime are not looking too good.
I think they just need to find their footing here. But the problem is if they don't get into this game fairly soon, it will end up being too late. They've only got 2 kills and no towers on the board either. It just has been a game all about NIP so far.
We know they're capable of it because we saw against Unicorns of Love. They very quickly found their footing in the second game, and that's when they came back into the game. There's the insect onto 6. He will be taken down at some point. There we go. Gets the reset on. Get excited. Perry also dragged into that team with the flay. Amin will mop up the next kill. We'll see what else they can do here. And the Excellor has actually gotten caught by Zoro Zero. Going to be using Deathmark, trying to pick up a kill in return. I don't think that's going to be enough damage and will be blocked out by the safeguard. Mozilla's also being called out. There's the double kill for Jinx. Gets excited, can't find Caitlyn. But a 4 for 0 just on the back of catches.
And again, Armin with a brilliant catch. He lands the Sonic Wave, gets the Dragon Strike back into the rest of the team. And he's just so good at landing those kicks to knock people back into the team, pick up the first kills, and then they just snowball from here. NIP are looking to go aggressive. Amin's just tanking up turrets. I have to wonder, normally when that happens, it's because a vote has been passed, but it hasn't gone through. Armin, I think, maybe have just expected a vote to have passed.
Yeah.
And
that's an interesting decision. The classic wall jump into the double Nexus turret, stand still, laugh and die.
yeah, that's a little disrespectful.
We can call that the Amin.
I think at this point in the game, that's a little bit needless, if I'm being honest. I mean, NIP have themselves a big lead. That's the kind of thing that will throw games if NIP weren't quite so far behind.
Yeah.
So far ahead.
Yeah. Showboating does lose games, and we've seen that a couple of times in Korea, but then they just win anyway because Koreans.
Well, I just think that Armin needs to stay composed and stay level-headed. Because if he does that too much, it will actually result in his team having that gap closed. I mean, they're still far enough ahead that one instant won't really affect this game. It wasn't shutdown gold, it wasn't anything like that, but you know, it's only going to light a fire under SK.
Yeah, and the Q will land onto Mozilla. Don't choose to go, well, jumps back to his ally, but there are some people on that team you don't want any kills going to, such as Zed. Because as soon as he gets to that stage where he can one combo your AD carry, then that can actually swing the game.
Now, SK looking to hold on to this one. They might have found Armin in the jungle, but the numbers, even though they favor them, that's a pretty pretty tanky Dr. Mundo and Lee Sin. They're pretty difficult to kill here. Mozilla's going to attempt it.
They're going to go for this 1 versus 2. Denting blows comes out, but Zero, he is just way too maneuverable. Zavilian has found himself Nuke Duck. Super Mega Death Rocket comes through, doesn't quite connect. He actually sidesteps that and makes sure he doesn't get the assist.
Yeah, I think Svanilla knew that there was an explosive cask available there.
Yeah.
And it was just a case that was kind of just accepting defeat. Flash wasn't available. No real way of getting out of that one.
In that case, I think he was actually trying to donate that to Freeze. But Caitlyn did see that coming and read him like a buck. But Mozilla clearing out the top wave. Bottom tower, however, will be falling to NIP, and I don't think there's anything that SK can do about it.
Yeah, that's going to be another inhibitor going over to NIP, and 2 inhibitors down is very difficult to come back from for SK. This would take a very long game, really, to drag this one out. SK will get engaged upon. Yeah,
the explosive cast comes through. Amin jumps in, will get decimated, but Perry looks to try and pick up a kill in return. So it's a one-on-one trade. But Excellor is taking huge amounts of damage from Freeze, and this very well might just be the game right here and now. It doesn't look like they're willing to fight. They're not going to surrender out either, but they might go for this last engage. The double Zonyas comes down, 1 from Zed as well, and Zoro Zero is still alive. They haven't quite taken him out. There we go. The box comes out and lands onto pretty much everyone, but Mozilla is just not in a good position. 6 flashes out, but it's not going to be enough. The Get Excited passive plus Mr. Fishbones from Freeze will pick up another, not quite on the spawn pad, and there is a lantern available, but that's going to be the GG. And Ninjas in Pyjamas pick up this series, the grand finals of the FACEIT Invitational 2-0.
NIP looking very convincing there, and of course, a well-known name, former LCS team, showing that they've still got what it takes to be the kings of the challenger rankings this weekend. And, you know, it's been a very interesting weekend for Challenger. Yeah. We've had some upsets. We've had some predicted wins. NIP looking like the victors at the end of it.
It's always nice at the beginning of the season to see some new Challenger teams come into this one, Stress, because we haven't really seen all that Challenger has to offer. We've seen Cloud9 EU, we've seen Ocelot's new team Gamers 2, or Ocelot's World, no matter what they're called, and now we've seen Unicorns of Love, who have been very impressive, and that definitely impressed me.
Yeah, we've seen some good performance out of them. Even SK Gaming Prime, who are a relatively new team, the former Random XDG, who were on the Ranked 5s ladder, actually got picked up by SK. They've looked pretty convincing as well, but overall, NIP looking pretty flawless this weekend. They've played their pace a little bit slower than other teams, and, you know, that leads to some games that are a little bit longer than, you know, you may expect to see and have later first bloods, but overall, they've been incredibly consistent.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if the game is protracted, as long as they win it, then that's what counts.
Yeah, that is what counts. It's whoever wins at the end of the game, of course, is the victor, because that's how it works. Yeah. If you win, you win.
Yeah, and I think that's relevant to all games, not just League of Legends. But
there aren't many games where if you win, you actually lose.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of one, but that'll be a very silly game.
That would be a rather silly game. However, a silly game, League of Legends is not. No. League of Legends, our FACEIT Challenger Invitational has come to a close, unfortunately.
It has. It's gone by the blink of an eye.
It really has.
Really quite crazy. I mean, yesterday, we just come into the studios, and now we're done.
I know. It feels like it's been that quick, but yeah. I've enjoyed every moment of it, casting with you, Pulse. If you only joined us for the finals and didn't quite catch the rest of the action, of course, remember you can get all of the VODs on the YouTube channel for FACEIT. Follow FACEIT on Twitter as well. That's @FACEIT. And also make sure you follow the channel here on Twitch.
Absolutely. And if you want to jump onto the FACEIT platform as well, then we do have a promotional code that you can enter over the weekend, and this is kind of the debut of the League of Legends side of FACEIT, and there are many things to do on there. There are a couple of tournaments that you can enter, and also with that promotional code, there are also tournaments that you can enter with the premium account, and some items in the shop as well.
Yeah, so make sure you get onto the FACEIT platform. Also, our partners at DL Compare are still giving away games this weekend, so make sure you head from the Twitch page. There is a link, I believe it's in chat as well. Make sure you fill in the form. You'll get yourselves the chance to win some pretty awesome new games from DL Compare. I think this is it from us here at the FACEIT studio, live in Milan, Italy. Now, Pulse, if people want to find out where you'll be casting more League of Legends action, where would they happen to follow you on Twitter?
Well, you could follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/impulsible. And if you want to follow Stress, where can they find you?
twitter.com/dignitasstress.
Awesome. So I think that's it from us. Do we have anything else to announce?
I just want to thank FACEIT for the awesome production and the tournament this weekend. Thank you to all of the teams involved as well. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Let us know with the feedback, social media, Reddit, all of that good stuff. But we are done here from Milan, Italy. Hopefully we will see you again very soon for another FACEIT Challenger Invitational, but that's #1 in the books. Congratulations, Ninjas in Pyjamas. We'll see you all soon.
Thanks for